We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining us, and I'm joined today by Fire Rescue Chief Keith Watts and Council Chair Copley Gertis. We're also joined by Vice Chair Lisette Hanowitz. Thank you all for being here. Any other council members? Don't want to miss any. And certainly thanks to our St. Pete team who are here today. It is really hard to believe that 1 year ago today, we were facing the impacts of Hurricane Helene. And just 2 weeks after that, we would be gearing up again to respond to Hurricane Milton. I remember sitting in the Emergency Operations Center with our city staff, working through every single contingency from evacuations to sheltering and recovery, and thinking about what our city would look like after these storms passed. I remember the sound of the winds outside our EOC through the night as Hurricane Helene made its way through our city and through our state. I recall our teams moving out for first push as soon as the storm passed. And I recall surveying the damage with our team very early the next morning after Helene passed and seeing debris and flooding and impact like I have never seen. We met with our residents and saw the stress and devastation in their faces as they began the monumental task of rebuilding their lives. I even remember getting a briefing from our emergency management team that despite all of that, we were going to see another hurricane in just 13 days. At that time, I wasn't sure what the future of our city would look like, but I knew that we would be committed to the long road to recovery for our community. These hurricanes changed our community forever. In those 2 weeks, we experienced record levels of storm surge, damage, and debris. Our community hasn't faced anything like this before. However, it's in the immediate aftermath of these hurricanes that we saw the true spirit of St. Pete. Our neighbors moved into action and began helping people haul debris off their property. Organizations were hosting food and supply drives for anyone impacted by storms. It was truly incredible watching the community band together after back-to-back storms. We're here at Tropicana Field today to reflect on the last year since Hurricanes Helene and Milton. As you can see behind me, we've made great progress on Tropicana Field repairs in the last year, and I want to thank our staff for their hard work. I'll provide a brief update on those repairs later in my remarks. Also, later in the press conference, we will recognize some of the remarkable individuals and organizations that displayed true community spirit and innovation in their recovery efforts. These individuals and organizations identified a need in the community during the initial aftermath of the storms, and in the last year have since developed that idea into a larger effort or program to better serve the community for future disasters. The people we are recognizing today demonstrate the true spirit of what We Are St. Pete truly means. In addition to our 1 year recognition, we'll also provide an update on our long-term recovery efforts to date and highlight Fire Rescue's new high water rescue vehicles. In terms of long-term recovery, we know it will take years to fully recover from the back-to-back storms of 2024. Long-term recovery is a massive and complex undertaking that will take some time. In the initial aftermath of the storms, our focus was on immediate short-term recovery. This work included things like finding short-term housing for impacted residents, removing debris throughout the city, and facilitating recovery funding for our community. We took extraordinary efforts in our initial response, including establishing the We Are St. Pete Fund and establishing a hometown recovery haulers program. I'm proud of those efforts and the work our city team did in the initial aftermath of the storms. However, in the last year, we've also made incredible strides in our long-term recovery efforts. Long-term recovery will require perseverance. Our city team has made this their priority in the last year, and I'm proud to discuss just some of the work that they've accomplished today. To date, we've secured approximately $40 million in reimbursements from FEMA. We've received reimbursements for projects that included debris removal, emergency protective services, and other actions taken from the hurricanes. In addition to our FEMA reimbursements, we've received approximately $13.9 million in insurance payments to date. To date, that's a total of approximately $54 million secured to help our city recover. We continue to work with the Florida Division of Emergency Management and FEMA to secure additional reimbursements for our remaining projects. We also successfully launched the Sunrise St. Pete program with $159.8 million in funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And we are one of only 2 Florida cities to receive direct funding. The Sunrise St. Pete program will support housing, infrastructure, and community recovery. This program was developed with input from the community to ensure it accurately reflects the recovery needs of St. Pete. In August, our draft action plan was approved by HUD, and we are now working to finalize our grant agreement. We plan to bring that agreement to City Council on October 2nd for acceptance and appropriation. Following approval, the grant agreement will then be sent to HUD. Once our grant agreement is finalized, we will expect the initial Sunrise St. Pete programs to launch in early 2026. The programs expected to launch are residential recovery and elevation programs and our disaster relief reimbursement program. In compliance with federal requirements, Sunrise St. Pete prioritizes income-eligible homeowners, ensuring that 70% of the funds benefit low to moderate income households. More information on Sunrise St. Pete is available at sunrisestpete.org. In the last year, we've also been focused on increasing our infrastructure strength and resiliency against future disasters. The impacts from last year's hurricanes made it painfully evident that the impacts of climate change have exceeded prior projections and that we needed to adapt our plan. This time last year, we were concerned about our city facilities' ability to handle the record predicted storm surge and how seriously our facilities would be damaged or even made inoperable. We do not want to be in that position again. So in response, we launched the St. Pete Agile Resilience Plan, or SPAR, to accelerate resiliency projects designed to harden the city's infrastructure. We've already made significant progress on some of these projects, and I'd like to highlight a few. The aqua fence at Lift Station 85, installing flood panels at the Northeast Water Treatment Facility, installing mobile pumps and trailers at lift stations throughout the city, launching our private lateral rebate program, and elevating critical equipment at our water reclamation facilities. These accomplishments barely scratch the surface of what Public Works has been working on and has accomplished. And I encourage you to view the full list of SPAR projects on our website at stpete.org/SPAR, S-P-A-R, and learn more about how the city is working to increase our resiliency against future disasters. I also want to provide a quick update on our post-disaster emergency permits. As one of the last municipalities to waive permit fees for post-disaster emergency permits, we've waived $2.9 million in permit fees to date. We've issued more than 14,500 post-disaster emergency permits. The total construction value from our post-disaster emergency permits is approximately $299 million. We anticipate that we'll be back to normal blue sky review times by the end of this month. And finally, let's talk about Tropicana Field repairs. We all remember that picture of the roofless Tropicana Field stadium after the storms. That image really captures the violence of the storms and the significance of the impact. However, a year later, we have made significant progress on our repairs and anticipate the stadium will be ready for the 2026 season. I've been able to get a behind-the-scenes look at the repairs, and I truly admire the workers who you probably see working now, who are fearlessly repairing this roof and very skillfully. 6 roof panels have been successfully installed. I thought I counted 7 on the way in. I know they're working on 2. Are we up to 8? Up to 8. In terms of non-roof repairs, we've submitted permit drawings for interior repairs, and those are currently under review. We anticipate that the roof installation will be completed by the end of the year, and we'll start on turf installation and other major interior work at that time. And again, we anticipate the entire project will be completed by April 2026. And kudos to our team and our contractors. In closing, overall, you'll see it's been a busy year since Hurricanes Helene and Milton impacted our community. I want to thank our city staff for their dedication, tenacity, and perseverance. They've worked to rebuild our community as many were rebuilding their own lives and homes. They've accomplished this monumental feat while also balancing their other everyday responsibilities in the city. We will never forget the lasting impacts these storms had on St. Pete, and I'm honored to be here with you today as we reflect on the last year. I'll now turn it over to Fire Rescue Chief Watts, who has some exciting things to share regarding our brand new water rescue vehicles. And after Chief Watts, we'll hear from our Chair Copley Gertis to highlight some of the community innovators that I mentioned earlier. It's been a long year. It's been a productive year. I couldn't be more proud of our St. Pete team. We are St. Pete. Chief Watts.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning.
Good morning.
1 year after Hurricane Helene challenged our community, St. Petersburg Fire Rescue is proud to announce a significant upgrade in our ability to serve our community during future storms. Helene brought unprecedented high water rescues, which highlighted the need for enhanced capabilities. That experience drove change, leading to the acquisition of these specialized high water rescue vehicles. These vehicles are true game changers, designed specifically to meet the unique needs of our community in high water conditions. Equipped with lift gates, they provide a safe and stable way to transfer our citizens, especially those with mobility challenges, and they also ensure a safer working environment for our responders. These multifaceted vehicles dramatically improve our service. They can move through flooded neighborhoods, establish critical water supplies in areas cut off from traditional resources, and safely transport residents and responders. We're strategically deploying these vehicles based on historical data and can reposition them rapidly as conditions evolve. This investment directly addresses the lessons of Hurricane Helene, ensuring that when our city faces rising waters again, your St. Petersburg Fire Rescue is more capable, more flexible, and more resilient. For you, our residents, this means faster and safer rescues and greater peace of mind, knowing that your St. Petersburg Fire Rescue is prepared to better serve your needs in any emergency. St. Petersburg Fire Rescue stands ready, stronger, safer, and more capable than ever before.